Hello,
Hello, mate.
and welcome back to another episode of the Mojito Movement. I'm joined by Sam. This is going to be a great episode, I can already tell. Yeah, fuck it. Let's cheers the mojito. We're both doing something. It might be considered sacrilege. We've both gone non-alcoholic. It's good, isn't it?
That's really good, though.
It is good. It
Wow.
actually tastes like spiced rum.
I've never had a zero spirit, and that's
I
surprising.
was blown away by it. I bought it when I had an Olympian on because she was in training for World Championships and apparently not allowed to drink.
Okay.
Which I think makes sense because, you know, she's an Olympian. But this is the first time I've actually not had an alcoholic mojito on the podcast.
Oh, it's an honour.
So yeah, I would say it's your fault. It's not. It's me coming out of retirement to try and play football at the ripe old age of 36 and 11 months. That's doing it, but that ain't bad.
That isn't bad.
That's not bad at all.
It's taken me back to IFS, to be honest.
Yeah, well, as everyone knows who's listened, that's exactly what prompted the podcast in the first place. But before we go on a massive tangent, introduce yourself, mate. Let everybody know who you are and where they can find you.
I always forget about this bit. So I'm Sam, or Sam VPT on Instagram, TikTok, all of the other platforms and everything else. I'm an online coach, and I've been an online coach for a bit over a decade now. I started off as an in-person PT, now an online coach. Basically, try to help people make health and fitness a big part of their life. Get away from lacking confidence and being confused by health and fitness, and just make it easy for them to understand. You can see how I'm struggling. Like, do I look at the camera or do I look at you? I'm trying to talk to you.
Mate, if you want to give the camera the blue still, you're more than welcome to.
But yes, I make a lot of content basically trying to make fat loss as simple and as easy to comprehend as possible. And yeah, I'm an online coach and I deliver all of this information.
Mate, spot on. So yeah, if you don't follow Sam, I mean, you're probably in the minority from that perspective. You probably want to go and give him a follow, because I understand his content perfectly, and if I can understand it, and before people go, yes, but you're qualified in this, I'm also fucking stupid. So if I can understand it nice and easily, it means that pretty much everybody is going to be able to take on board the information you put out. And that's one of the main reasons for getting you on, is that I'm of the firm opinion that there's not enough people who put good quality content out there. There's a reasonable amount of us, but still not enough in comparison to the people that share fucking terrible information. And I think we need to we need to elevate the people that put good quality content out there, so that it becomes more accessible and easier to find. Because the health and fitness space is a fucking minefield. It's just full of everyone and their dogs giving advice that ranges from fairly good to fucking awful, and everything in between. And it's apparently it's the easiest thing to do is to become a nutrition expert, when you consider people like Greg Wallace, for example, who's been shown to not be the most politically correct individual out there. Blames his autism for getting his dick out, and his sideways step after losing his job with the BBC was to become apparently a nutrition expert and launch a fitness app. And you're like, I don't get this.
This is the MasterChef guy, isn't it?
It's the MasterChef guy, yeah.
God,
he's launched a fitness app and like nutrition app, and he's now posting loads. Obviously, he's lost weight himself, which is great, but I always find we'll go into many subjects on the episode, but I always find a big frustration of mine with the fitness industry is it's anyone that's not qualified, it's almost seen as like an easy win. The amount of people that do reality TV shows, or like Greg Wallace, for example, lose their job in mainstream media and they go, oh shit, what am I going to do? I'll just go into giving fitness advice or nutrition advice. And it's like, it's an actual industry with qualified professionals who work really hard to become qualified to put good quality content out there. It really annoys me when people are just like, I'm just going to transition into this because it seems easy. And you go, oh, come on, stop devaluing that.
I think the thing, it's more just a case of the thing that they find easy is they've obviously got a very good background in entertainment, marketing, and pushing an idea, creating a story around an idea, and then convincing other people to follow suit, and also that they have a voice of authority.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of the things that a lot of coaches struggle with, is like establishing a voice of authority, and then all of the other bits that come with it. Because first and foremost, like, we're coaches. We got into coaching to help people through health, fitness, diet, because that's something that helped us. It's something that made our lives a lot better. And we've gone, like, what if I could help other people do this, and basically go through the same process that I've gone through, where I'm no longer lacking confidence. I'm no longer constantly thinking about food, or constantly dieting, or constantly feeling like a failure. Like, that's where we started. And then as we usually become self-employed coaches, online coaches, PTs, or open our own gym, we then have to learn the whole, we have to learn marketing. We have to become a voice of authority.
Yeah.
We have to learn storytelling so people can actually resonate with us. Because you might say that my content a lot of the time is very factual based. It's very knowledge. It's very informative. And I've been told countless occasions, you need to, like, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows your story. And I'm like, to be honest, like, I'm only getting people's attention for like maximum 30 seconds on a reel or on a TikTok video.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have enough time to actually go into, my story.
Yeah.
But what I can do is I can provide value in some form or another, whether that is convincing somebody that it's not their hormones that's stopping them from losing weight, or whether it's the fact that insulin isn't the problem.
Yeah.
Regardless, or this person's chatting shit.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And there's so much of it out there. And I think that's actually a really nice point to kind of pivot to before we go headstrong into labelling all the people within the industry that we really dislike, is actually to take it right back. Talk us through your story. How did you get to this point? Obviously, you've amassed a really good following. You're putting excellent content out there, and like you said, obviously a lot of us as coaches have come at it from our own journeys and realizing the challenges that we've had, the problems that we've had, equally starting to recognize perhaps some of the challenges and issues within the industry, and we kind of get our superhero complex to a degree where we're like, I am going to be the person to fix this, which is why we do what we do. We want to make it easier for other people so they don't go through what we've been through. But what was your journey? What was your story? Let's treat this like an origins.
Yeah.
episode.
First off, really appreciate it, mate. Like, the praises, I really, really do appreciate it.
It's very much deserved.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And right back at you. My story, again, I always forget about this bit, the storytelling part. I essentially started, fitness for me was something that got me out of my comfort zone. I was never athletic as a kid. I hated PE, couldn't run, I was always picked last, all of these things. I know, sounds like a sob story. And we won't go into the real deeps of it, but was bullied. That affected my confidence. And overall, I was basically somebody who was very weak, didn't have any athletic ability, even though I desperately wanted to be fit and healthy and athletic and be able to do all the cool things that, muscular, healthy, young boys can do. But I just lacked the confidence, social skills and everything else. And for me, simply just getting into the gym, it didn't even start going to the gym, buying a pair of dumbbells and asking my parents to get a York fitness set and a bench. And
I think we all had that same set.
Yeah, the vinyl weights, maximum of like 45 kilos. But like, regardless, the summer that I spent sort of a good 6 months just basically every other day lifting those weights in any way, shape or form that I could, and trying to teach myself how to do it. I mean, it basically consisted of a deadlift, a bench press and a bicep curl. That was, and some push-ups. That was all I did.
Yeah.
But it gave me the confidence to then eventually go, you know what, I think I could actually enter the gym and belong.
Yeah.
And then that kind of, as we say, the years rolled on. I learned more. I eventually did a PT qualification back in the day, I think before these PT qualifications even taught you about anything like progressive overload or any sort of dietary advice whatsoever.
I mean, the current PT qualification doesn't teach too much about progressive overload or diet, to be fair, so it's probably not changed a lot. A couple
of them do, but in the most part, I was actually quite astounded when I started, searching out for more information and then realising how little I knew.
Yeah.
And then learning these things and developing my own strength, my own physique. I think like most people, obviously my main goal was to look great, If I can look good and feel more confident, and a shirt fits in the way that I really wanted to, it means that I could probably go speak to those girls.
Yeah.
And it also means that the guys will probably speak to me, and they'll like be okay, and they'll be like, "Oh, do you want to join in with whatever we're doing here?" And whatever. And then eventually that kind of steamrolled into me learning that the confidence it helped me build throughout my fitness then basically bled into every other area of my life. So, talking to people, making videos and putting my face online, and then eventually thinking that I had the authority to be able to coach other people on how to do this. And you're right when you mentioned kind of like that serious superhero complex.
Yeah.
It's living on that like fine line of being like, okay, I've got information that can 100% change people's lives.
Yeah.
But then also remembering that you don't know everything and you're not God.
Yeah.
So
superhero complex, not a God complex. And I think that's the issue with the industry. There's a lot of people out there who are in positions of authority due to their public persona or their number of followers or whatever it is that's giving them a level of authority over people. There's a lot of people who are doctors, and I do say that in air quotes for anyone listening, and they trade off of the fact that people will respect what they say. And the unfortunate nature of the industry, because of social media, because everything is a little bit of a caricature of reality, it is a little bit exaggerated, is you end up with people who skip past the superhero complex of wanting to help people, wanting to save as many people, if you will, from doing things in a shit way and making their life miserable. They kind of bypass that and they just kind of go, no, I'm going to hang my hat on this one thing and I'm going to try and make sure that everybody only ever thinks of this. And that then leads to, like you said, that sort of God complex where they claim to know more than, I don't know, meta-analysis and clinical trials and stuff, and anything that disproves or discredits what they say suddenly becomes fake news. And that's when it becomes quite dangerous, is when you're no longer actually trying to help people, you're just trying to push a narrative because you know you can monetize it. And that for me is a big reason for wanting people like yourself on the podcast, is because actually it's not about recognizing that maybe you know something and you want to monetize it for your gain. It's recognizing that you know something that can help people and you want to help as many people as possible. And as a result, obviously you've been able to turn it into a job that you get paid for, because we all want to get paid for our time from that perspective. But again, it's not about going, oh, I've got this secret that I can exploit people for. It's actually about saying, actually, do you know what, here's a lot of information that you can use and you can never pay me a penny for, but if you found it useful and you want a bit more of my time to help, then you can come to me for it. So I think it's an important distinction to make between the two, because we quite often, I know I do on TikTok, you probably do it on Instagram, get lumped into the same category as some of the Eddie Aboos of the world, where people go, well, you're just selling something too. And I go, not directly. Like,
yeah, I'm as a coach, you're selling the guidance and the ability to apply the knowledge that is being shared. But for pretty much any of us who, again, as you say, are probably jumping on podcasts like this yourself, and sharing the information and have values that we have, like, we're sharing the information for free anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
like, I get messages on a monthly basis of somebody who's like, hey, I've been following you for like 10, 12 months and I've lost 20 kilos and I can't thank you enough for the content you've shared. I haven't earned a penny off of that person.
Yeah. I've got somebody on TikTok, and she's followed me since literally day one of me being on TikTok. And comments all the time, and she always caveats every time she comments on a video and says how much weight she's lost by following my advice. She always puts, not an ad, never worked with him. And I'm like, and it's brilliant, and she'll DM me every now and then and update me with like how she's getting on, and I have no idea who she is, where she is in the world. I don't know anything about her other than the fact that she's been following me, putting into place what I've been saying, and has made great progress. And I absolutely fucking love it. Not the easiest way to pay your bills from that perspective, because you can't call up Virgin Media and be like, hey, that 180 quid that you want for for my TV and my broadband and everything, did you know this person on the internet said that I've really helped her lose weight? Can I pay you with that?
100%.
But again, we don't get into coaching because we want to make money. And I think if that's why somebody's got into coaching, is purely to try and make millions from online coaching, they're coming at it from the wrong perspective, and that they're more likely to probably share inaccurate information because they will go chasing the likes, the engagement, and the way to monetize. The majority of genuine coaches get into it because they want to help people. And yes, we charge for our time if you want to work with us directly, but you can normally tell the measure of how accurate somebody's information is by how much they give away for free. I've got a free calorie calculator, which basically makes me obsolete in that everyone that uses it then knows the one thing they need to do if they want to drop body fat.
But it doesn't make you obsolete though. That's the thing.
No,
that is the thing. Like, so
in theory it should, on the basis that they should be able
theory.
to go, okay, now I know how many calories I need to eat, and if they go and put it into practice, technically speaking, they don't need me. But again, the measure of a coach isn't to just prescribe.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer of this. Trainers will prescribe. A trainer will give you something to do, and they expect 100% adherence. If you don't do it, you don't want it enough. Coaches actually coach. They guide, they advise, they manipulate things to meet that individual's lifestyle and set of circumstances. And I think they provide the support, the accountability, the rationalization of what's going on around a certain set of situations, so that you always feel on track and like you're moving forwards. And obviously that's the stuff that you've got to pay for.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that said this. It's like, and the craziest thing is, right, Gary Vaynerchuk said this, like, we're talking like 8 years ago, I think, 9 years ago when I first started following him. And he was saying this, he called it the thank you economy, which is essentially like, it's just goodwill. It is literally just a case of give out your best information and the information that people need, and give it away for free, because people are going to find it anyway for free. And then you are going to be a voice of authority. But only 1% of the people that take in that information are going to actively be able to do something with it by themselves. The other 99% of people will probably need your help. So don't get me wrong, like, we've got proof. There are people that take the information and apply it, and they don't need help applying it. But there are a lot of people out there, and it's not a bad thing, because I needed the help as well. That's why I had like mentors earlier in my career, because I couldn't apply it just by myself. I needed guidance, I needed help, I needed reassurance, I needed systems, and all of these things and tools and their experience to guide me through it. So, like, but now you've got a lot of creators, which is fantastic. I think it's great. It is really, really good. But now they're realising that actually, we should just create good faith, and we should just give our best information for free, because we don't have an information problem. People don't have an information problem. People know that they need to be in a calorie deficit, unless they're a person who's a bit unsure because they've seen other content which has led them astray. But people know they need to be in a calorie deficit. They know protein is important. They know that exercise is good for them, and they should probably walk and stuff like that. So the information isn't the problem. It's the application that is the problem. And that's where a coach comes in and helps you apply. Because, again, same thing. Like, I pissed off a bunch of people about a month or 2 months ago when I posted a video on Instagram basically being like, you don't need a meal plan. But if you want some help and you would like a meal plan, go to ChatGPT and put in this prompt. And then you could also use these prompts if you're doing it on a budget, or to a specific shop that you're shopping with. I got like 10 DMs by coaches being like, why the fuck are you doing this? I was like, because people don't need meal plans. Meal plans don't work, but I understand people do want guidance. They want an idea of what maybe a day of eating looks like. But ChatGPT can do that. They don't need to buy your template plan for 30 quid.
Yeah, completely agree. And the issue, the point that you made there, which is spot on, is we don't have an access to information issue. In fact, we've got the greatest access to information we've ever had. Weirdly, we've also got the greatest amount of misinformation being shared as well, which makes it difficult. But the area where most people struggle is not gaining the information. It's being able to apply the information in a way that works for them, and in a way that ultimately they can stick to. Because it's so easy to just go onto ChatGPT. You can get a training plan, you can get a meal plan, but ChatGPT isn't going to be able to look at you as an individual and go, well, actually, is this realistically going to fit your life? If you go into it and go, how often should I train in order to achieve this goal? And what should I eat? Give me a meal plan. It'll go, bang, here it is. What it won't ask is, what's your lifestyle like? What's realistic for you? Is actually a 5-day training split going to be something you can stick to, or is it another flash in the pan where you might do it for the first 2 weeks, think you're a changed human, and then when you have a bad day at work and you don't go, you think you're a fucking failure and you quit? ChatGPT can't step in at that point and rationalize it and reassure you and help you to find your way back on track, even if that way back on track feels really unnecessarily slow. It can't do that. It can just give you some information to follow, and yeah, I think it's completely accurate that the issue isn't a lack of information. It's just being able to decipher what is and isn't credible information, and then how to apply it accordingly, because that's where most people go wrong. 90% of people fail at their fitness attempts, not because they're actually doing a shit job, but because they think they're doing worse than they are, because they've adopted a method they knew they couldn't actually hope to stick to.
Well, that's where we get into the other side of it, is like, I mean, you know, you might disagree with me here, but like, once we get past the misinformation part, and then we get into, okay, well, they understand, they trust me, they trust the information and the knowledge that I'm putting across to them. After that, the things that we really do, and I don't call myself a mindset coach, but one of the biggest things that we're doing is we are challenging and coaching somebody to change their mindset. Because once they've got the information, we then have the main sort of things that are really holding them back, which is probably their perceptions of things, their expectations of the process, their relationship with making mistakes, their relationships with other things, that, you know, and a lot of it goes into the mindset side of it. So if you have somebody who goes in with a perception of food as like there are good or bad foods, or I had a cheat day and I fucked up, or whatever it is, then those are the things that we then start challenging. It has nothing to do with calories, nothing to do with what protein they hit. Of course, if they struggle with those things, we help them come up with options on how they can do better next time. That's the simpler part. The harder part is getting them to change their perspective. And I think as a coach, that's one of the biggest things that we do.
And I think, again, it's what sets apart coaching from being a trainer. A trainer doesn't go into that side of things, an instructor doesn't go into that side of things. They put together a plan which is optimum for a general population, and you either want to achieve it or you don't. It's very black and white. But coaching, it looks at all of those aspects, because again, a lot of what holds people back is thought processes, it's behavior patterns, it's relationships with their progress. And again, the industry does a really good job, in my opinion, of giving people very warped perceptions of what is realistic. I've lost count over the last 6.5 years I've been coaching how many times I've spoken to somebody and they've used the phrase, I've only lost X, and you go, why are you upset about that? Like, I've got clients who have maintained for 3 or 4 weeks on the bounce despite being absolutely bang on with everything, because it's just part of the process, who are pulling their hair out going, why is it not moving? And I'm like, keep doing what you're doing. And yet somebody else on the other side is sat there going, oh, I've only lost this. You go, why are you saying that? Well, because so-and-so's doing Manjaro and they've lost 2 stone in a month, or so-and-so's doing keto or this or whatever fucking fancy diet it is, and they're losing phenomenal amounts in next to no time. And you go, brilliant. Ask them how much they've kept off in 2 months' time, because that perception of rapid results being better is something that I think it's led more people to adopt very, very unsustainable approaches, which then in turn cripples people's self-belief in the ability to achieve lasting change. And the funny thing is it's never the individual's fault, in my opinion. And again, I'm happy if you agree or disagree. But in my opinion, the majority of people that really struggle with getting in better shape, it's not their fault. It's that they've put their trust into what they've been told is the best way to do something. And best is a completely subjective principle. It's a concept, in that what is best for you will undoubtedly not be best for me. We probably train and eat and do things very differently because we've got different goals and aspirations. I always find it funny on social media when you get the dickheads in the comments who are like, you're not even that big, and you go, yeah, maybe my goal isn't to be fucking jacked. Maybe that's just not what I want. I did a video very recently. There was a guy, and the principle behind what he was saying was absolutely bang on, in that if you're lifting weights every single day, you're not maximizing your ability to grow. Completely agree.
For sure.
Growth happens at rest. You are if your goal is growth, you're better training 4 days per week than you are 7 days per week, because you're going to grow more at rest. However, to assume everybody that you see in the gym 7 days a week lifting weights is doing so with the sole intention to grow is, in my opinion, is completely naive. They might just enjoy lifting weights. They might just enjoy keeping fit and being active and being able to do these things. They're not necessarily all wanting to grow. And I guarantee if they were wanting to get big, the majority of people who train really consistently will have probably done the research around what is considered an optimum amount of training for the goal that they've got, and therefore probably wouldn't be training 7 days a week. But it's the problem that we have is that people like to position what is best or what is optimum across a general population as though that must apply to everybody. And when you do that, it massively overlooks what each individual is looking to actually gain from things. And I think that's why our job as coaches becomes really important, because what we do is we take that step backwards and we look at the individual and we go, right, we know what is potentially best, but we now need to understand you, your lifestyle, your commitments, what's going on, what you like, what you don't like, so that we can create actually not what is best in the eyes of the industry, but what is best in the eyes of you, the individual. Because if it's right for that person, they're going to enjoy doing it. And if they enjoy doing it, they're going to want to do more of it. And then if they do more of it, they get better results. And it's that, and it's making it as simple as that. It's not an oversimplification. Loads of people accuse me of oversimplifying things. I'm like, I'm not oversimplifying it. I'm breaking it down to how it actually should be on an individual basis. You should be creating something you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, guess what? You actually want to do it.
Yeah. And that enjoyment can come from multiple streams. It could be, it could come from direct enjoyment from the activity or the process that you're taking, or it can be enjoyment from the outcome. Like, it might be the case of what you're doing is actually quite challenging, and it requires you to do something that actually you feel quite uncomfortable. But the outcome is the fact that you're really happy with the fact that you're like, okay, sick, like I just did something that challenged me and I'm happy that I've done that. But I think on what you were saying, one of the biggest things that we teach people to do, or again, it's at least something that I see a lot of good coaches doing, and I aim to do it myself, is you're essentially teaching two things to who you're working with, is to create self-awareness and to incorporate an ability of them to actually be able to reflect on what's going wrong, what's going right, and how to correct course. Yeah. Because without those two skills, one, a bit of self-awareness, when they can go, yeah, actually I've been eating like a dickhead and I said I wanted to do this, but actually I'm doing this. All right, let me reflect on this. Why has that happened? Oh, it's probably because I'm getting cocky because I've lost 10 kilos and I'm only, so on and so forth. And you get that reflection. I wanted to kind of basically, it's not so much a counter argument, it's kind of agreeing with you, but then also just chucking in a little bit of information there of like, so I've said it before, because I run like a community coaching, which isn't personalised. It's not. The only part that I could probably say would be sort of personalised and tailored to the people that are in there are when we do our group coaching calls, and we actually get to talk one-on-one, they get to ask questions, and I get to actually coach and question them and come up with solutions for them and with them. But when it comes to the information and the application and everything else, it's all what I would call a protocol. So a protocol is something that anybody can follow. In the most part, don't get me wrong, if somebody comes in and they've got extenuating sort of health conditions and stuff like that, I'd be like, I'm probably not your best bet, and neither is this unpersonalized approach. Pretty much everyone can follow a protocol. And then further down the line, again, through that self-awareness and teaching them how to reflect correctly, they then are able to edit this to work best for them. So again, the protocol sets out the basics. And if I was to say the protocol, okay, and this is for anybody who says that coaching is for, like instructing, okay? You need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to have a good amount of protein in your diet. You want to exercise regularly and move regularly, so get your steps in. And if you think that coaching is just about accountability, then come back to this page and comment, hey, I've been doing this for 6 months and this happened. If that's what you think coaching is, then voila, you've just been coached. Congratulations. But it's not. It's a protocol.
Yeah.
It's the information that you need. And usually it just needs to be put into chronological order of most important to the more complex down here and further down the line.
Yeah.
And coaching, basically, it allows you to do that in a way where you have somebody helping you along the way. Like, you can read all the self-help books you can possibly read by all of the therapists and all of the neuroscientists, but that is going to hit very different to actually having a therapist.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, a case in point being, there's a lot of people that have bought my book and have said that it's great. I would be amazed if 100% of the people that bought my book have actually implemented things, purely on the basis that, again, people love to take information in, but applying that information and actioning it is another thing. And I, again, very much like you, I've got two options within my academy. The majority of my clients work with me one-to-one, but I've got a lower cost option for those who are a bit more self-sufficient, where they get an off-the-shelf training program that they can pick based on what their goal is. We calculate their calories, they check in with me via the app once a week. It's pretty hands-off. We cover a few bits. Obviously, when they check in, I do like voice note and give them a bit of like personalized guidance for the coming week, but it's training in essence. They're utilizing my training app, they get a structure to follow, and away they go. And you're quite right, for some people that's great because they understand the basics of what they need to do, and they're fairly comfortable with sort of pushing themselves and trying something new and following a structure. The majority of people need a bit more than just to be told what to do and the structure of what to do. And that's not even a negative. It's not even a dig. It's I think a lot of people need to realize it ultimately, because as humans we like to or I know I certainly do, we like to overestimate our capabilities of what we can do. And whenever people set a new goal for themselves, like, I'm going to achieve this, and I'm going to try and do it in this period of time, and this is how I'm going to do it, and then they shit the bed when they get started and realise that maybe it's not quite as straightforward as the influencer on social media made it sound. I can't just go and follow this wonderful home workout with minimal equipment that Courtney Black put on and just avoid anti-inflammatory foods like artificial sweeteners and achieve the same physique as her. Sometimes we need a little bit more than that. But for other people, and again, it will be dependent on their knowledge, their background and stuff. But for some people, do you know what? Just having a program to follow, just having a calorie target or a meal plan from ChatGPT where they can go, do you know what? I'm not going to eat it every single day, but if I do it the majority of the time, I'll probably do all right with it. And that's great. But a lot of people really struggle with the over-analysis of how they're doing. The constant, am I making enough progress? Am I making any progress? Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? Should I have eaten this? Should I not have eaten this? And that's when coaching really comes into its own, because we become the voice of clarity, because there's all this noise going on, all this second guessing. And if you've got somebody that can objectively look at data and go, hey, I'm going to rationalize this and put it into perspective versus where you're trying to get to, 9 times out of 10 it just provides people the ability to calm the fuck down. I'm a firm believer most people give up on their goals not because they're doing a shit job, but because they think they're doing worse than they are, because they've convinced themselves that their progress should be quicker, or they've convinced themselves they shouldn't be eating a certain food and then they ate it once, or thought about eating it, and for some people, and these are not reasons to quit, but for a lot of people they become the catalyst for giving up because they think it's too difficult. They think it's impossible because they understand what they need to do, but they don't understand how that then applies to them, and that's I think without repeating myself, that's the value of having a coach and of good coaching is it being able to sit down with somebody and say, look, you're actually doing way better than you think. And a great example, if anyone's thinking, well, so well and good you can say this stuff, but do you actually do it? A great example is one of the clients I'm working with at the moment. She had a really, really difficult period where she probably had 6 or 7 weeks not in a deficit, going over calories, just really struggling, just life in general, and she kept feeling like a complete failure. And we've now had the last 6 weeks, she's finished each week in a deficit. It is not the the target that we're working towards. She's not at her target calories each day as an average, but she is still averaging a deficit, and each week the size of the deficit she's averaged is getting gradually bigger. And yes, you could easily look at it and go, well, she still went over her target by 1,000 calories this week. You go, yeah, absolutely, you're right. You could say that. You could look at it and go, well, she's only lost a handful of centimetres over the last 6 weeks off of her waist or hips or whatever. You go, yeah, you absolutely could look at that. Or you could look at it and go that she had a near 2-month period where she felt she just couldn't get back on track, and for the last 6 weeks has actually been doing the one thing that we want her to do, which is eating less than she burns, gradually increasing her activity level. Like, does she still have a drink at the weekend? Absolutely she does. Would her calorie intake average be much better if she wasn't having drinks at the weekend? Absolutely it would. But we're in a position now where she's making gradual progress. It doesn't feel like a chore. She lets her hair down at the weekend, and we've had 6 consistent weeks of eating less than she is burning. Like, that is a win. But
and she's gradually making progress.
Yeah, but if she took that to somewhere like a Slimming World or just to a trainer, you know, they would look at it and go, oh, you're not committed, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. But this is it. It's learning that ability to reflect. And a really simple question that I would ask most of my clients if they got into a hole like similar to that, like a mindset hole where they can get into that, is I go, well, what would Catherine 6 months ago have done? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is like, oh, I would have hit the fuck button, like fucking quit. And it's like, well, cool, you didn't do that this time. How big is that?
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest things for so many people is just the fact that they haven't thrown the towel in yet again, and then they're starting again in a couple months when they start to get uncomfortable with the way they look and the way they feel again.
Yeah.
So like, that's one of the biggest things is like, and again, I'll use it even for people who are like sort of putting themselves down a bit about their level of adherence and stuff like that. Even 12 months, I'm like, what would Charlie of 12 months ago have done? And they'd be like, oh yeah, we would have absolutely packed it in.
Yeah.
It's like, you just need to remember the types of behaviours that you used to take and how much progress you've made from there.
And I think when you start to reflect on it that way, you start to recognise that progress isn't just, did the scales move, did the tape measure move? Progress actually is so much more than that. It's everything connected to it. It's what are your behavior patterns like? What's your relationship with yourself like? With food, with your relationship with progress, for example. Because you're quite right. The amount of people that I've worked with over the years, particularly those that I've worked with for a long time, if they have those moments where they feel less on track, and you go, well, you still turn up for your check-in call every single week. You still track what you're eating. You still get your steps in. You're still doing all the right things. Yes, the volume of calories might be higher than what you're aiming for, but the reality is I always, and again, I always refer back to one of my clients, Karen. When I first took her on, and I said, look, ideally we want to get you tracking calories. I said, it's not the be all and end all, but for the first few weeks, it's great so we can see what a typical week looks like and what we're working with, but also what gets measured gets improved. So if we can start to do it for a few weeks, we can get a bit of insight in terms of what your eating habits are, but we can also then start to get a bit of an understanding of what we can eat for the amount of calories that you should be consuming. And to begin with, she was like, she genuinely said she was never going to use something like a MyFitnessPal. She's like, I'm a technophobe. She's like, I'll write it down. And I was like, that's fine. You write it down. That's not a problem at all. Like, we've got to start somewhere. And what always makes me laugh is when we check in, even if she's not done, not had the best week, and feels like she's a little bit off track, she will still track absolutely everything. And I'm like, you just need to think back to when we first spoke and you told me that there's not a hope in hell's chance of you ever tracking calories. I'm like, and yet here we are. Not only is your worst week still averaging probably about 1,000, 2,000 calories less than your best week when we first started, but you tracked everything in an app that you once told me you would never be able to use because you couldn't get your head around it. And I'm like, that's progress. That's progress, because again, most people when they get started with a coach are very all or nothing, have tried a million things and failed a million things, and that's their stock response to it not quite going to plan is, I'll just fuck it off. And then, like you said earlier, they fuck it off for a few weeks, get to a point where they hate themselves even more. They can't bear to look in the mirror and go, I need to do something again. And rather than having the conscious knowledge to say, well, what I've done historically hasn't worked, what would be a better way? They just go, last time I did this diet, I did lose quite a bit of weight. So then they just jump headfirst back into the one thing that they deep down know they're going to hate every minute of, but they allow themselves to think it'll be different this time. It's almost like, you know, when people get stuck in abusive relationships and they keep breaking up and then they keep going back. Why do you keep going back? It'll be different. It'll be different this time. And
I
you go,
don't know about that. That's too heavy for me. That's too heavy for me.
But it's that notion of knowing that it's not going to be any different at all, but kidding yourself that it will be, simply because it's almost your comfort blanket. You're in that headspace of, well, I don't really know any different, so I'll just trust that it'll be different this time.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, I mean, there's quite a few reasons to that. I mean, like one is they've got evidence that worked at some point. So there's evidence there. You can't deny that there's some level of evidence that they did that. They stuck to it for as long as they did, and they dropped weight. Well, hey. What's not computing is the fact that it didn't work, because a lot of the time what gets put on to the fact that it didn't work is because they lacked discipline or willpower. When in reality it's like they didn't fail the diet failed them because it either is over restrictive or it just does not fit into their lifestyle. I'm sorry, if you're keto and that's your lifestyle, you're boring. You know.
I completely agree.
But you know,
if the most exciting thing about you is your dietary preference to the point where it makes it onto your social media bio, you got real issues with yourself as a person. I struggle to keep my social media bio concise enough for the amount of information that I would like to put into it, and not one piece of it is with reference to what I eat. Yet there are some people whose entire personality is their absolute dislike for one type of food, and you think, what a cunt.
But again, we're entering the world of it's marketing.
Yeah,
you know, they become that belief, and then people see them as a voice of authority. I think what am I coming across really often now is the skinny girl. Just skinny bish, skinny girl content coming back, and these seem to be movement. Heavily underqualified, kind of call them early 20s sort of gals. It's the same issue where we've got like guys that have, you know, well done, they've gone to the gym for the last 12 months and they've put on a bit of size, and they're eating steak off of a plate, and they're 19, 21, and they're telling everybody that they need to balance and increase their testosterone by eating eggs off of a chopping board. And then you've got the same thing on the other side where you've got, again, these early 20-year-old gals that have done a deficit for the first time in their life, and they do 20k steps and they don't see anything kind of crazy within their behavior, and then convincing themselves that they can then go forward and create content to try and teach people how to do that. It's a wild word. I am really trying to stay positive about the social media world. Don't get me wrong, I do have my days where I become very nihilistic. Is that the word? I'm very I've become very I lose a little bit of hope, but then again I get that reminder of like, hang on, there are people out there sharing the right information. You're one of them, I believe, and this, if anything, this means even more so that I've got a job. And that's to provide the right information and help the right people. And
a lot of my content is me calling out misinformation, and I like to use the word shit cunt a lot, and it seems to be well received from people. And one question I get asked so often, people, particularly on TikTok, people send me videos all the time. You do a video on this, what do you think of this? And invariably, it's always followed by the same question. Do you not get sick of all of these? How do you cope with all of these? And I'm like, actually, deep down, I'm glad that there's so many people putting out poor information, because it keeps me in a constant, like, I don't have to think too much about what content I'm going to post, because I know each week I'm being sent someone who said something completely incorrect and outlandish. And it gives me an opportunity to continue spreading, what I hope is good quality evidence-based information. When people say to me, you're not worried about things like ChatGPT, I go, well, actually, no, I fucking love it, because if somebody sends me a video and I go, that's 100% bullshit, I can also put it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to find me all of the studies and the meta-analysis that confirms it's bullshit. So when I do a video about it now, I can be like, bang, here's the actual data.
Receipts.
Yeah, basically. Whereas before, I had to go and search PubMed myself. And if anyone's tried to do it themselves, my God, what a frustrating platform that you type a prompt in and you go, right, I want a study that shows this. And then it gives you 4,000 results, none of which seem to reference anything that you've searched. And you go, oh, fucking, how do all these creators constantly find great studies to make to back up their points when I can't even find one? So ChatGPT is a game changer for that for me. But so, yeah, I'm with you in terms of social media. It's a bit of a weird place at the moment because it can be quite frustrating and disheartening, particularly when you see pages explode that are sharing awful information. Excuse me. But it does create an opportunity again for the evidence-based people like us who aren't trying to monetize a method and create an unhealthy demand. It gives us an opportunity to actually say, look, this is some information that's out there. These are the reasons why you might want to be cautious about trusting it 100% or trusting it at all. There's probably people listening going, that's the most diplomatic way I've ever put it. Why don't I do that in my videos? Because it's more fun calling them shit cunts, I'll be honest. But it's good that there, in a way, that there is the misinformation out there because it creates the opportunity to correct course. But at the same time, it would be much nicer if there were some limits on what you can and can't say to prevent people from just
100%
chatting nonsense.
I mean, I am being a complete idealist here, but I pray that there is a day where, when it comes to health and fitness content, there is no need for rebuttal content where you are trying to disprove. I pray that there is a day where people go, oh, well, we know what's right.
Yeah.
This person's trying to talk about fucking cortisol again, shut up.
Yeah.
Or this person's trying to talk about insulin for controlling your insulin, shut up. A day where there is no need for this content that has to disprove bullshit that people are saying. People just know, and the only thing they need is help implementing it.
Yeah.
It's like an idealistic world, but I pray. I've been in the industry for over 10 years now, so I've seen multiple things. Literally, it's like kind of like every 3 years.
Yeah, there's like a new cycle.
Yeah, so Carnivore is obviously huge in the last 12 months, and it's really picked up pace. But 5 years ago, I did Carnivore for 8 months before it was in the limelight.
Yeah.
And I did it as an experiment on myself to see, because I was like, at that point I was doing loads of, I did keto and I was like, well, that's shit. And I was like, well, this carnivore thing, like, I'm interested to see what that does on a bit of a like scientific perspective. Let me experiment and see what happens. Ended up doing it for 8 months, and I did feel good initially, but then I saw that my relationship with food got completely warped. I was anxious about eating out. I avoided eating certain food, and it was probably where I was most terrified of eating food, and where most of my binges would happen. So we've been through that, and now coming out the tail end, and then making rebuttal content, being like, these carnivore guys are kind of talking out their arsehole. They're trying to sell you this program where they can teach you how to be carnivore, and you're like, and they're like, well, have you tried it? And I was like, yeah, I did it 5 years ago for 8 months. And they go, oh, well, you did it wrong. I'm like,
and this is the irony, isn't it, in terms of when people buy into an ideology and you're challenging that, it doesn't matter what you say, it will always be wrong. For example, oh, have you done it? And you go, yeah, I did it for 8 months and it was shit. They go, oh, you did it wrong. Well, I didn't. It was just shit. People seem to lose the fact that preferences are subjective. I saw a brilliant piece as a comedian, and his name has just escaped me. And somebody commented on one of his posts and said, you're just not funny. And he went back, well, that's the great thing about comedy, it's completely subjective. And he's like, none of your peers would find you funny. So he went back and said, actually, I got voted the comedian's comedian in 2012 and 2015. And he was like, well, they're all fucking wrong. And he's like, yeah, you're just not getting it. It's a subjective matter. Like, you don't have to find it funny. And so again, I always find social media in general is quite a funny space, in that people are more likely to engage on content they didn't enjoy than they are on things they do enjoy. And it's like, back in the good old days, you had BBC Points of View, where the idiots of the world who forgot how their remote worked would write in and say, I watched an entire programme and didn't like it, and that's your fault. despite the fact that they had a remote and they probably had 300 other channels they could have watched. My favourite was during the World Cup, an England game went to penalties, and somebody wrote in and complained they turned on for the news and it got moved to BBC Two, and they didn't realise, and they were really disappointed. I'm like, if you like the fucking news that much, BBC have a 24-hour news channel. Put it on.
Yeah.
The football wasn't on BBC News 24. Fucking put it on. But no, you sat there watching BBC One going, this isn't the news, and instead of trying to find the news, you just went, well, once this is finished, I'm going to write them an email. Brilliant. What a great contributor to society you must be. And they used to be few and far between, because it took a level of effort to write to the BBC and tell them that you didn't enjoy the programming that they put on, despite the fact you could have changed the channel. Whereas now with social media, it's so easy to scroll to the next video that you'd think people would just go, don't like that, like a normal person. But instead, it's also really easy just before you do the whole scrolling to the next video to just go, oh shit. And I don't get what people get out of it.
I think it's something I learned, because obviously, like, when you put yourself out there on social media, it comes with the territory. You put yourself up for some hate, and again,
particularly if, like me, you spend most of your time calling other people shit cunts for sharing
poor
information.
I've done it, and I definitely want to do it more, but that's more just because I'm seeing more of it. But again, another thing from Gary Vaynerchuk is just the fact that it's like, actually, when you see those comments and you see those people, especially when it's directed at you, it's like, oh wow. Like, I actually feel bad for them because they've taken time out of their day, energy and time that they're not going to get back, to write a comment, either just saying some bullshit or belittling me or whatever. And I'm just like,
yeah,
like, who cares?
There's two ways that I like to look at it. The first is obviously from a strictly content engagement perspective. The algorithms don't look at whether or not it's positive or negative engagement. So if there is somebody who is willing to spend a few hours slagging me off in the comments, I'll probably, if I haven't got anything else to do at that point in time, happily engage them, because I've genuinely seen videos go up, like the views on videos go up by tens of thousands of views just because one person has been commenting several hundred times and replying to everything I say, everything everybody else says, and I'm like, this is great, I've got a live one, we're gonna milk this and get as much out of this as we can. Yeah. The other way to look at it, and I can't remember who it was that said it, it might have been Paul Moore actually, somebody like that, and they said the way that they look at negative comments is that of all of the content on the internet, that person is engaging in your content. They could have landed on any video, it could have been something they liked, somebody else's video that they didn't like, but they, in that moment, they are watching your video, and that's basically what we're trying to achieve. When we put information out there, yes, we want it to reach those that it's intended to help, and we know there are some people out there that we just won't ever be able to help because they eat off of wooden chopping boards normally with their tops off, and claim that ribeye is the greatest way to boost testosterone, and like to tell you things like whey protein is the devil, which is mildly ironic since it's a byproduct of animals. You think it'd be right up there, fucking crazy. Yeah, you think it'd be right up their street. But how great is it that you can be sat in a situation where somebody potentially on the other side of the world is decided to argue with your content?
Oh yeah,
they could argue with anybody's.
I have no qualms about having a debate. And I don't mind having a debate in a comment section, but when somebody like says something to with clear malicious intent to like upset me, I just like it or put a love heart in the comment. I'm just like, and I know that it has probably pissed them off more than their comment has pissed me off, and I just crack on with my day.
Yeah, and again, I think it's always worth reflecting back, because there's potentially people obviously listening to this who do put content out there and maybe find it really difficult when they're getting negative content, and I've touched upon it in previous episodes as well, and I think sometimes you have to reflect back on what it is they're saying. I'm like you, if somebody is coming back and they're having a debate or a conversation and they're challenging the actual content, and I had it this week actually, somebody who's followed me for a long time, I put a video up and it was about sort of Manjaro and retatrutide, some dude selling it illegally.
Mm-hmm.
And I stated in the video it's illegal to sell peptides, and he came back and said it's not always illegal to sell peptides. So I did a good deep dive search, and I was like, well, it 100% is. And it's 100% illegal to sell that particular peptide, A, because it's not cleared for use in the UK or in the US, B, because if the only way it wouldn't be illegal is if it was being sold for research purposes and it was specified as that, but that gets negated the minute you knowingly sell it for human use and you indicate the potential benefits. So from a fat loss drug perspective, a GLP-1 med perspective, if you're selling a medication for research purposes, you cannot state that a byproduct could be weight loss. You're not allowed to. The minute you state that, it then becomes, if you're not a registered pharmacist and it's not been prescribed, it's then illegal to sell it. So I was like, went back and said the nature of my video was more about GLP-1 meds in general and the fact that people think it's a silver bullet. And he was like, well, you didn't really address some of his claims. And I was like, okay, fine. So we had like a little bit of a back and forth. But the reason why I engaged with him, and I engaged with him quite professionally, is he's followed me for a long time, and he actually came back to me and said, I watched the video, I think you missed certain points. Mm-hmm. Cool, perfect. That's somebody to interact with. If he'd have just come back and been like, what the fuck do you know? You look like a cunt. I'd have been like, cool, you don't have an issue with what I've said, you're just having a go at me. And I think it's always important when you get like negative content, negative comments and stuff, is to look at it and go, are they attacking the information? If they are, let me just research and see, is it warranted? Is it justified? If it's not, I'll go back and say, actually, no, you're wrong and these are the reasons for it. Or are they just attacking me as an individual? Because if they're attacking me as an individual, I've probably said something that challenges their belief, didn't give them that little momentary hard on by providing a bit of confirmation bias for them, and instead challenged, the fibre of their being, and they didn't like it, and they're just going to call me a cunt for doing so. Well, if that's the case, A, I won't be polite, and B, I also won't take it to heart on the basis that you're not offering any form of alternative. And you probably see it yourself when you put content out there. You get people that are like really pro whatever belief system they have, and they just keep going, oh, you're an idiot for believing that. And you go, cool, what's the alternative? I don't need to provide an alternative. You're an idiot for believing it. If you don't know the alternative, you're an idiot. And you go, have you got an alternative? Like, if you haven't, this is a moot point. You can only debate somebody and you can only say somebody is wrong if you have evidence to prove it. You can't just be like, that's wrong.
That's it. Like, if somebody's got, something to say and can have an intellectual debate and communicate in that way, then fine. But if somebody communicates, as you say, in the style of like criticising your character or the way you look, or even, as you say, like a blank statement without any follow-up, then my simple sort of mindset in that is you can't argue with stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
so, again, I always say I don't like to do it, but I seem to do it a lot. But Ricky Gervais made a great point, and he's like, being stupid is like being dead. It only really affects the people around you. And it's true.
No. It's
actually true. And social media has really elevated that, because it does give a voice to everybody, even those who perhaps don't know how to use it effectively. And one of the biggest things is it's created a space where it's commonly accepted to be very vocally outspoken and very passionate about your beliefs, which are all great traits when used appropriately. But when you're passionate and outspoken about stuff that's just fucking incorrect, it creates a big mess. And I think it's a nice place just to pivot ever so slightly in terms of, for you personally, I know you don't do lots of like calling out content, but at the moment we've touched on it a little bit, but what's your biggest things that piss you off within the industry at the moment? I nearly said give you the ick, but that phrase makes me physically angry, so I stopped myself. I'm glad. But yeah, what's your big one or two at the moment that you just keep seeing and you think the sooner this dies its death, the better?
It's a really difficult one. I think there's probably two main ones, but then there's a big thing that's kind of overarching all of them. I think number one is the content that is tailored towards the 40-plus-year-old women, perimenopausal, menopausal, which is the fact that they need to balance their hormones. They need to, their cortisol is high, or they're insulin resistant and things like that. And this is what's causing them to hold on to body fat or gain body fat, when we obviously know this isn't true, and for anyone listening, like, they're confusing correlation with causation. So yes, you can have high cortisol, yes, you can have insulin resistance, but that isn't what's causing the body fat gain or the holding on to body fat. When you have higher body fat, especially if you are considered overweight or obese, those things inherently happen. You are less insulin sensitive, you have higher cortisol and higher inflammation.
Yeah.
So this word inflammation and inflammation face and this kind of crap. And the worst part about it is it's women doing it to other women.
Yeah.
And it's either the fact that they are knowingly doing this and misleading other women,
yeah,
or they genuinely believe what they're saying. And I think there might be a fair few that genuinely believe what they're saying that can't quite connect the dots
yeah,
into the fact that, like, okay, you're talking about managing your stress and all these types of things. Those are things that you concentrate anyway when you're trying to lose body fat and how to create a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, when you're trying to lose fat, we go, are you hydrated? How much sleep did you get?
Yeah.
You seem stressed out. Maybe you could do something to, like, manage your stress. All of these things are things that generally happen when you are looking at improving your lifestyle to lose body fat.
Yeah.
So I think the big arching point of this is it's frustrating because these people are so bloody good at marketing it.
Yeah.
And making it sound like they're on somebody's side.
Yeah.
They
because sprinkle just enough accurate evidence.
Just enough truth.
To make it compelling.
Yeah, and just enough truth in terms of, like, how people feel. Like, because, okay, one of the biggest things is, like, tracking your calories and seeing it as a disordered process and always feeling like you're, like, imprisoned by these things. And as soon as I stopped doing these things and I started focusing on balancing my hormones and then it all changed for me. It's like, the problem isn't the tool, i.e. tracking your calories and using a fitness tracker or whatever else. It's the perception you have going into it.
Yeah.
So tracking your calories is a tool. It is not something to live by, and it's not something you should aim to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But it's a tool that you use really rigorously until eventually you don't need them, because whilst you're tracking your calories, you're also going to be learning about portion control. You're also going to be going, oh crap, I didn't know that there were that many calories in a pack of Doritos. I might swap for a lower calorie option.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that chicken thighs had more calories in than chicken breast, and chicken breast has more protein. I'm going to opt for that.
Yeah.
And I'm going on. I didn't know that I could eat this much, vegetables and stuff like that and enjoy it and it fill my plate and I wouldn't be hungry. So you learn a lot more throughout the process.
Yeah. What gets measured gets improved.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, anybody who starts tracking, they're a bit like, oh god, it's a bit monotonous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But eventually it's not, because you appreciate the value in the tool that it is.
Yeah, 100%.
So I've spent 2 years not tracking because I told myself I'm going to spend 2 years staying at the body weight that I managed to get up to. I gained like 15 kilos over lockdown on purpose, and I was like, right, I'm going to get comfortable at this weight, hold on to it. And now I'm just going back to the tool that I know works, which is using MyFitnessPal, and now I've dropped 15 pounds and voila.
Yeah.
But it's a tool that I can go back to and I know it works.
Yeah.
And there's no stress, there's no guilt, there's nothing on it.
And the irony of it is particularly with the menopausal side of things and the demonization of things like cortisol and insulin resistance, like you said, like the confusing correlation with causation would be as stupid as assuming that every time there's a fatal car accident, there's an ambulance there. So if you have a car accident and they send an ambulance, you're going to die, because that's what. Well, no, the reason why the ambulance is there is because of the car accident. The reason why people die is because of the car accident. The ambulance isn't doing anything. If anything, it's increasing your chances of survival. But people, theoretically, if you want to confuse the two, could look at it and go, oh, if I have a car crash and they say they're sending an ambulance, that could mean I'm going to die. And you blame the ambulance. And what I always find really frustrating is around the menopausal side of things, like you said, it's a lot of the information being given out is by women. There is one page on TikTok which is a bloke, probably might be in his 20s, maybe his early 30s, and he chats even more shit, and I think you just shouldn't be going near the subject, because A, you don't understand it, and B, you're mansplaining misinformation, which makes it worse. But the two that they always hang their hat on. It's the insulin and cortisol. And you go, well, yes, there's correlations in that if you are highly stressed, that's going to influence your behaviour patterns. And a lot of women, when they are going through menopause, are dealing with a roller coaster of emotions, and it's really fucking horrible. And I've worked with a lot of clients going through it, and just hearing them talk about how their mood can change literally within seconds. Yeah, a lot of women will turn to comfort foods, and a lot of women will turn to alcohol. So high cortisol has a correlation to an increase in body fat on the basis that it will influence your behaviour patterns. But you cannot blanket claim cortisol is the cause of fat gain, because for every one person who turns to food when stressed and when in periods of high stress with high cortisol, there will be another person who loses their appetite when stressed. And there is just as much evidence of people who, when stressed, lose phenomenal amounts of weight, and people go, oh my God, how have you lost so much weight? Yeah, same here. I don't eat if I'm stressed. And people go, oh, how have you lost so much weight? You go, oh, stress.
Yeah.
Life's being shit. Don't really want to eat. Feel sick all the time. But they overlook that, and they go, oh, your cortisol's high. That's why you can't get rid of body fat. And you go, well, not completely true. My other issue is, again, when they start to pin things on balancing hormones, managing inflammation, they don't ever give any indication as to how they're tracking and monitoring that to be able to prove that actually they are A, balancing hormones and inflammation, and B, that the positive benefit of doing so is actually the result of the weight loss. All they're simply doing is tapping into the fact that, where if you hear the phrase you need to track your calories and you're struggling with managing your food as it is because you are more stressed and you are hating how you look and how you feel from 1 minute to the next, because menopause is an absolute cunt for making you literally hate everything about yourself and your life. If somebody goes, probably should start tracking your calories, you go, oh, I don't want to see that I'm eating too many calories. So if somebody sweeps in and goes, well, that's part of the problem, that's why you're gaining fat, because you're trying to manage your calories, you need to balance your hormones. Well, how do I track that? Well, you just eat a certain few foods. You go, I don't have to track anything. Not a thing. Not even the one thing we're trying to balance. Not even the one thing we're trying to reduce. You don't need to track that. Which is weird, because how do you know if you fucking achieve the outcome if you're not monitoring it?
Well.
But it taps into that, and which is why I think the majority of the people who are putting this information out are knowingly putting it out as misinformation, which makes it worse, is because if you didn't know it was misinformation, you would probably also put forward a method for at least monitoring what you're saying you should monitor.
But this is it. If you're going to monitor those things, it's far too expensive for people to do that. But at the end of it, anybody who's watching this, who is wondering, oh, maybe more hormones, etc., it's like, there is one thing, okay? Here's me, I'll try and do my best marketing and being salesy. I know this one trick, this one thing, that if you can do it, it is going to help improve your hormonal health. It is going to lower your cortisol. It is going to improve your insulin sensitivity. It's just one thing. Lose weight. Losing excess body fat. And if you can put people in bed, like, is the reason why, I mean, this isn't original, I think this is from James Smith. The reason why I get people to track their calories, and the simple way that I explain why I believe it is one of the best tools to use for people who have more of a logical sense to it, is that it puts you in bed with the method. It puts you in bed with the principle, where you've got a lot of diets and people out there that try to create methods that kind of get in the way of the actual principle. So yes, okay, these people who are trying to balance your hormones and reduce inflammation in your body, they've created a method that, if you're lucky, creates a calorie deficit and means that you move more. And a lot of the time, these methods also are really overreaching. So rather than doing, just the right amount, which actually give you some results that doesn't impact your life, they get you doing everything humanly possible, which really does impact your life, and you can't do it forever. Where simply understanding energy balance, taking your time to track your food and learn all the things that will teach you, like portion control and what is in your food, you're then sitting in bed, you're in the driver's seat, and you're like, okay, I'm literally here with the principle of fat loss, which is I need to be in an energy deficit, calorie deficit. And there's no bias, there's no rules, there's no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just there in front of you, in your face. And when people then get that, they go, oh.
Yeah. And the irony is all the people that claim calories in versus calories out doesn't work, or claim tracking doesn't work, and they go, it's just another method. You go, no, tracking calories is a tool. But what we cannot get away from is that if you need to drop body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Well, the greatest way to know if you're in a deficit is to manage what goes in. In exactly the same way that if you went to a financial advisor and you said, I want to buy a house, need to get a mortgage, and they go, right, you need X amount as a deposit. What are you? How are you going to? I'm going to save. I'll save the money. Cool. How long is it going to take? I don't know. Maybe a year, 2 years. Brilliant. How much are you going to save each month? Not going to worry about that. Well, how much have you got coming in? Oh, I'm not going to think about that. Well, how much is going out? Well, I'm not going to think about that either. Okay, so you're not going to look at what's coming in versus what's going out to work out what you can realistically save to ensure that you can get to the number that you want. You're just going to what?
Yeah, no, sounds obsessive.
Yeah, it's way too obsessive. But the simple fact is body fat gain or loss is the result of energy intake versus energy expenditure. That's not an opinion. That's a law of physics. If you want to ensure that you are eating less than you're burning, it's probably advised to have an idea of what you're eating. It's the easiest thing to control, because actually we don't have an accurate way to track what you burn, because Fitbits and smartwatches are anything from 10 to 90% inaccurate. So that's not going to give you a great indication. If you're only really paying attention to what you burn from exercise, well, that's only about 5% of the total calories that you burn anyway. So that's a pointless metric to hang your hat on. Whereas you have absolute control of everything that goes in your mouth. Absolute control. Unless, of course, you're unfortunate enough that whilst you sleep, your partner is injecting you with butter.
Yeah, I think a good way to try and explain, I think, I don't know if you know a guy called Higher Up Wellness. American creator, and he's very, very popular, but he recently, in the last couple of days, has been sharing the analogy of like taking looking at the stones rather than the sand.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are putting too much focus on like the light hitting sort of low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
When in reality it's like, why don't we just focus on the things that are actually going to have the biggest impact, the boulders, the big rocks. Like if you're trying to fill a jar, if you're trying to fill this up, you're not going to start by... No, that's a really bad analogy. That didn't make sense. A lot of people are just focusing on the small things that really aren't, like what supplements are we taking, what time am I eating, am I balancing my hormones, all of these things that don't matter, when I think a big part of our job, especially when it comes to the content we share, is we're literally just trying to go like, just concentrate on these things. These things are the most basic things that you can master, and anything on top of this is just a massive bonus. Yeah. But if you just learn how, again, they're big things, so they take time. If you just learn how to manage your energy intake, if you just find a way of exercising or moving that you enjoy, or at least you find it challenging and get satisfaction from, and if you find a way of being okay with the body that you feel and being okay with your mindset and your mentality with yourself, you do those three things, like everything else is just super easy.
And it comes back to the point that we were saying. The irony is all these people who are saying you need to manage this hormone and you need to focus on this hormone and this, and if this is high, you'll gain fat and what have you. The simple fact is if you learn to manage your calories more effectively and you bring yourself into a sensible deficit and you can become a bit more active, guess what? Your body will handle hormone production itself.
All of those things improve. Your hormone health improves by doing one simple thing, which is dropping the excess weight that you're holding on to. Yeah. You don't need to concentrate on ridiculous things. The simple fact is, and we know this, and somehow it can be a controversial topic, but if you drop excess body fat that you're holding on to, metabolically you get healthier in every way. Yeah. So your triglycerides, like there's a guy, forgotten his name, nutritional scientist, he dieted on Twinkies and cookies and Oreos, and it's a well thought out study done in the early 2000s. And okay, he was eating absolute diabolical food that isn't nutritionally dense, but he was in a calorie deficit, so he dropped, I think, around about 30 pounds, even though he wasn't eating the most nutritional quality food. His blood triglycerides improved, his LDL cholesterol went down, his HDL cholesterol went down, his high blood pressure ceased. Like, all of these things improved even when he wasn't eating the best food. Now, that isn't me telling everybody to go out and eat crap, but it is just a simple truth that if you are losing this excess body fat, your all of your metabolic markers will improve.
Yeah, and I think, again, going back to IFS, the talk that Ben Carpenter and Sohi did, where they said it was centered around focusing on health-centric behaviors rather than just weight-centric behaviors. Again, the study data highlights there's 3 things that you can effectively do to improve your overall health. You can obviously improve your activity level, you can improve your nutrient quality, and you can improve your calorie intake. And if you do any one of those in isolation, it will improve your health markers. In an ideal world, you do a mixture of all 3 in a way that works best for you. You become a bit more active doing stuff you enjoy. You get better calorie management, and you try and improve your food quality. The issue with the that we face, I guess, is everything needs to be blown up to extremes, and it's like people have this perception that it's not worth doing a little bit of each. You've got to go to the extremes. If you want to diet, you've got to live off of only whole foods, and you couldn't possibly look at anything that's remotely processed. And if you even think about eating something that's more than 2 ingredients, and if one of those ingredients has got more than 6 letters, like, you're going to die. And it's just not, people think it's not worth their effort, and they won't get results if they're not doing it fully, and they go, they feel like they need to be really committed and stuff. And you go, actually, yes, in a way you do need to be really committed, but that commitment that you need to put in, that consistency that you need to achieve, isn't perfection, isn't it trying to eat the healthiest diet in the world. Like, for optimum health, 100%, the nutrient quality is so important. But at the same time, what's the point in living to 110 by eating the absolute most perfect, healthy, optimum diet that's calorie matched, nutrient dense, and nutritionally matched to what your body needs, and you're super fucking active? If you hate every minute of your life, you're going to be the most miserable 110-year-old ever. I personally would rather live to, say, 89 and be pretty healthy, pretty active, keep my dignity as I get older so I can still wipe my own ass, but ultimately include just enough mojitos and pizza that when I get to 89 and I'm on my deathbed and people go, any last words, I can turn around and go, I had a fucking great time. Before maybe shouting something ominous like, mourn me.
Well, this is it. Like you said, so people with that all or nothing mentality, they've got 2 outcomes. They're either going to continually fail or they're going to be a prisoner of a diet that they're prisoner of. Like all of us got into health and fitness to be free of the noise and the self-comparison and all of these things that we feel prisoner of when we're feeling crap about ourselves. But now these people are, again, they're either going to always fail because of this all or nothing mindset, or they've just replaced one prison for another, which is the prison of, again, feeling like they have to be 100% on all the time.
Yeah, and it's kind of the irony, isn't it? A lot of people obviously want to get in better shape so that they can be healthier, happier, be more confident in their own skin. And the industry does this brilliant job of recognising that it's really unhealthy to have food obsessions and to be really restricted with your diet and to be over restricted with, or over and dependent on certain levels of exercise. And the industry is great at going, these behaviour traits are really not good, providing they don't fall into one of these 3 categories. And then it's like you end up with the extreme, like the carnivore diet, for example, which we know, you look at it from a long-term perspective, it's really not great for your long-term health. There's lots of negatives that come from only eating meat and eggs, whilst it may have some short-term benefits. But the people that are doing it, ironically, will be able to look at every other dietary approach that's being done and be able to go, and I did a video on this recently where it labelled restricted diets and overly obsessive diets that tell you can't eat X, Y, Z are the reasons why you keep failing. But since I've used the carnivore diet, and I now get results, and I go, what? Since you went from going, well, this diet's a bit restrictive because I can't eat bread, to this diet's absolutely fine because I can't eat 99.9% of all foods. People don't see the irony, and it's similar from like the bodybuilding perspective and stuff. And people go, oh, you shouldn't obsess about. You should feel comfortable in how you feel in your skin, and you should be free of these restrictions from food or what have you, and then people kind of get into the fitness industry and go, oh, I think I'd like to compete, and then they end up eating the same 5 meals a day 7 days a week, and they end up training every single day to exhaustion just to get to a point where they can step on stage and have other people tell them whether or not they look okay. And it's really ironic that certain elements of the industry that are almost elevated as this is the pinnacle of fitness. The carnivore diet's not bad, they just really like to get enough protein, and they just care about their body so much they won't eat anything but one thing. Yeah, but if you took the word carnivore out of it and you applied it to, say, a teenager who only ate nuggets, or they would only eat baked beans cold out the tin, you'd look at that and you'd be like, this kid's got an eating disorder, we need to get some help and some support to help address this can't go on, it's not going to be healthy. But you dress it up as a fitness related thing and people go, fucking great. Similarly, if you saw somebody who obsessed over exercise and they weighed all of their food to the absolute nth degree and they got fucking a full meltdown because they went 1 gram over with their rice, and they were religious with it and they did all these things, if they weren't doing it to step on stage, people would probably look at it and be like, it's a bit excessive, that's a bit much, it's a bit full on, we might need to...
I feel like these sorts of things, they allow us to put some context to people's actions. But the way I see it, and I say this to my community quite often, is like, so in my community we run what I call a focus cycle. So obviously my whole approach is like, this is something that should fit your life, it should be sustainable, and it shouldn't be a case if you have to rebound back and gain the weight back again and do another diet. I used to use the term, this will be the last diet that you take, but I kind of got rid of that. But it is essentially, it's the last time that you start again, essentially.
It should in theory be the last time you feel that you need to like spend money to learn how to get you.
Exactly.
So teach you everything you need to know. You're not all life's peaks and troughs. We're not always going to be bang on it, but you'll know exactly what to do and how to rebalance.
That's exactly it. So what I say is, to find balance, you need to have times of imbalance. And when I say, like, there's a scale that I tend to use with people, okay? One end of the scale, you've got people who just do not give a flying fuck about their health, their fitness, or what they look like or anything. They're doing everything the opposite of what we would probably recommend. And then you've got the other end of the scale, which are people who lose their shit when they're a calorie over, and they count every calorie meticulously, and they make sure they hit their protein target, and they never miss a training session, and they are prisoner to their health and fitness life. I don't think anybody wants to be either end of that scale. We just need to figure out, or that person, whoever's listening to this, you need to figure out where on that scale you want to be. It probably isn't over here, but if you're spending all your time down here like I did, you're probably going to have to creep up very close to this side of the scale to then realise that ain't it. And if you're at this end of the scale, sometimes these people rebound back down here and realise this isn't it. So a lot of the time, it's very rare that we go from here to here and we're happy. A lot of the time we have to kind of bounce around between and to and fro somewhere in between these two realms, and then eventually we go, you know what, I like it here. Like, I can play my football, but I'm not obsessed about missing my training session, or like losing my muscle mass or anything like that. I've got protein in my diet. I can include jammy wagon wheel and not worry about it. Nice, top tier biscuit. So it's understanding like what that looks like. Now I've got clients who are more dialed in than me. They're closer to this end of the scale. That's them. That's where they want to be. That's fine. I'm not like that. Like I've got clients who are more muscular than me. They're bigger than me. They can lift heavier than me. But that's because they need help doing that. And again, it comes back to that original point that we said in terms of we've all got different goals. And again, I get frustrated with the self... what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember. The self-confirmed fitness experts that essentially only want to work, and again, it's fine, it's their business, but they only want to work with the people who share the same goals as them. And that's absolutely fine. If you've got people coming to you going, hey, I like what you've achieved, I want to do the same. When it becomes dangerous is when people are coming to them going, I want to look and feel a bit better, and they're going, cool, no worries, and then they try and put them into the same program and they hold them to the same standards that they held. I'm the same as you. I've got clients who are in better shape than me. A good chunk of my clients probably train more often than I do, but again,
all of my clients, in fact, don't have a condition called POTS, which means I had to change how I train. I have to accept the fact that I don't train as often. There's lots of things about me as an individual that are completely not reflective. So I'm not going to try and impose what I do. I'm not going to try and look at it and go, oh, do you know what? When I was trying to compete and step on stage in men's physique, I was doing this much cardio, these many sessions, eating this food. I'll get everybody to do the same. Sure, I'd get some great before and after photos, but my retention would drop through the floor because I stuck at it for nearly a year. And when I came out the other side of it, thanks to COVID and lockdown, I suddenly realised that it ruined so many aspects of my life. And I was like, this is shit. I don't want to be the reason why people have that same realization. I had that realization because I wanted to compete, and I thought that's what I needed to do to be considered a good quality coach. I needed to step on stage, and it was very much my goal at that point in time, and I was willing to make the sacrifices because there was an end point, there was a reason. But when that all sort of fell apart because the world closed for however long, I then realized the negative knock-on effect. And that was a big catalyst for me never wanting to push people down a set route. And I think it's really important. And the way I always look at it is very similar to you is with a scale. And at one end you've got ease of adherence, and at the other end you've got speed of results. And you don't want to be at either end completely, because if your speed of results is really fucking quick, well, you're miles away from being able to stick to it. So yeah, great results, but are you going to hang on to them? Are you going to enjoy it? But equally, you don't want to be in the place where ease of adherence is, because that's doing nothing. That's where you are already. If you're listening to this and you think, I want to sort of start my goals and I don't know where to start, you're at the ease of adherence right now because you're not doing anything. And that's not a problem. That's not a negative. That's not me making you feel bad. It's just that's where you are. You're going to need to move away from that, and it's going to have to be slightly harder for you to stick to because you need to make change. But if you can sit somewhere in the middle where it's easy enough to stick to that you can stick to it, and the results are coming quick enough that it keeps you interested, that's the sweet spot. And that will look different for every single person. For some people, that might just be doing 5,000 steps a day, monitoring their calories a little bit. For some people, it'll be training 5 days a week. But when you understand it's a spectrum, and you just need to find your middle ground, you need to find your sweet spot of this is enough of a challenge that yields good results, but easy enough that I can stick to. That's when you're really, your life's going to massively improve, and you will see health improvements on all your health markers and stuff because you're doing something you can actually still do 10 years down the line. And again, I think it's a big plus that thumbs up to you and how you coach, and just other people in the industry like us who prioritize this, is the fact that what we're doing and establishing for people is we're not necessarily delivering the fastest results. We're not necessarily delivering the sexiest sounding approach. But what we are going to do is create enough knowledge and understanding that 5 years down the line, when you've probably forgotten what our name is, you're still doing the same things that we taught you. And if you've had a period of not doing them, you don't go, fuck, what do I do? How do I change this? You go, yeah, do you know what? I just need to become a bit more active, dial in my calories a little bit. And that's, I think that's, for me, is the standard for what I would consider a good quality content creator, is the people who put information out that actually empowers people to make sustainable change, rather than just giving somebody something that sounds really fantastic that they're not going to do for more than a couple of weeks because it makes their life fucking miserable. Yes,
well, I mean, this is it. And the thing is, I went into a hole of, as a coach, being like, oh no, like everyone should be doing the slow and steady approach, half a pound a week, maybe even slower, and I got very dogmatic with my view of like doing anything that is intense, or maybe but essentially at the end of the day, like I hold a space where I am just brutally honest and non-judgmental to the people I work with.
Yeah.
So if there's a structure that I follow. And again, it's like kind of that teething process of like, track your food, so I know what you're doing. You can get an idea of what you're doing, and then we'll start to establish a training routine and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then from that, you learn quite a lot. And then you'll also learn the person's perspective on what results they want to gain and in what space of time. And then you have a brutal conversation with them, and you can be like, well, look, you could do this, but it wouldn't be the funnest thing. Your calories would have to go down to this, and your level of adherence would have to be about 90%, which on a 30-day perspective is about 25 days out of a 38-day perspective. 25 of those days you have to be fucking hot as shit and on it.
Yeah.
And only 3 of those days you have a bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
And when you give them more perspective, more of a vision as to what that looks like, you then give them the option. And they go, and I go, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to give it a go and maybe fail, and it's okay if you fail, and then that way you go, well, that route isn't for me? Or do you want to go, actually, no, I already know myself well enough, I don't think that is for me.
Yeah.
And I've had people that are so, sure and really, sure of themselves, and they go, cool, yeah, let's do it. I know I can do this. And it's like, and then a week down the line, they're like, you know what, actually, I think this is too intense. Like, I think I need to lower my expectations and do something more realistic. And then I've got other people who are like on their 4th week, and they go, that was a lot easier than I thought. Like, do you think we could up the adherence, up this a bit? And I go, yeah, absolutely. But the only way these people are gonna learn this is by being put through it, but also having an option and knowing that there's more than one option.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I think just drawing parallels to that in terms of my own experience with my clients, I've got one of my clients, Dan. He's dropped unbelievable amount of weight in what are we at, maybe 13-14 weeks. I think he's notching up over 15 kilos dropped.
Unreal.
And one of the first things we did is, obviously, we got him tracking his calories, paying closer attention. I gave him a training split that I think was 4 days. Most weeks he will hit 7-8 sessions, both a mix of cardio and strength training, and it's more than what we put into the plan. And it's because one of my firm beliefs when I speak to anyone or write their program, I always say, tell me the minimum you can do. And why the minimum? Well, because if you tell me what you think I want to hear, and you go, I'm going to train 5 days a week, and then you train 3 every week, I'm like, did you do your session? I only did 3. I only did 3. Whereas if you say to me, the minimum I can do is 2, and I base everything around that to begin with, if you're consistently doing 3 every week, did you do your sessions? I did an extra one. It's the same amount.
Win.
And it's the same amount of activity. But the luxury is we know the calories are actually calculated it closer to that activity level, rather than potentially giving you more to eat than your activity level would determine. But psychologically, coming back to what we said earlier, most people quit because they think they're doing a shit job. So if you can make people think that they're winning, even if they're just doing...
It's not even thinking that they're winning, it's providing the evidence. Because again, like the reflection process or the check-in process, whatever we want to call it, like not only is it to sort of go, oh, this is where there's a pitfall here, how are we going to course correct? It's also really important to go, like, what did I do really well this week? Yeah, 100%. People can get into a real habit. And this is the thing, like people are usually their own worst enemy, their own worst critic, of just not actually giving themselves a bit of a pat on the back. Yeah. They feel like they're blowing smoke up their arse. It's because most people, I'd say the majority of people, we're probably all the same, will always have an image of where they want to get to. So every time you check in and they reflect, they don't reflect back of how far have I come, they just reflect where am I in comparison to the end goal. And that end goal, unfortunately, is going to keep moving. The closer you get to it, you're going to reassess and you're going to set new goals. So you're never going to reach the end goal. So if that's your only mark of how you're doing is, am I there yet? You become the child in the car that everybody hates. That are we there yet? Are we there yet? Well, no, we're not fucking there yet. And the problem is we're never going to get there because the end point's always going to change. That's why it's so important to look backwards. Yeah. Like, and the thing is, like, we're people that teach this to people. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we're just constantly in a state of like being very happy with where we are and never doubting ourselves. Like I doubt myself all the time, you know, but then I look back and go, okay, I was 18 looking for a PT job. I couldn't get a PT job. So I got a job on a cafe bar inside a leisure centre until I eventually could get a job in the gym in that leisure centre. Yeah. And then managed a gym, then went freelance. And in between all of that freelance, I was working for Amazon delivery and doing my in-person coaching, and then eventually being able to be an online coach and building up from there. And, you know, that's just the business side of things. Then all the fitness things. Like, you always have to look back at how far you've come. Always. You shouldn't dwell on it, and but if you find that you're struggling, just remind yourself of how far you've come.
100%. And again, that reflection backwards gives that clarity. And to touch on a point that you made, I think it is so important that if you recognise that maybe your speed of progress isn't exactly what you want, it's always, and it's a big part of my check-ins and my coaching, it's always so important, I think, to, again, like you said, present the options and to reflect back and say, actually, yeah, you could see progress in this manner if you do X, Y, Z, but realistically, is that something you want to be doing? Because again, if you've created a really good balance with diet, activity, and their general lifestyle and other commitments, sometimes it's worth accepting and being comfortable with slightly slower progress because you're enjoying things. We were speaking on the drive over in terms of like where my business is. I want my business to be at the next stage and the stage after that, and to really grow and be absolutely smashing it. At the same time, I'm in a position where it's funding a lifestyle that I'm really happy with, and you kind of sometimes you have to sit there and you go, yeah, it would be great to go to the next step, but if that's going to come at a detriment to your overall enjoyment of life and what you're doing, you've got to weigh those two things up and find that middle ground where you feel like you're pushing yourself enough but not sacrificing too much in the process. Because again, referring back to when I did competition prep, I sacrificed everything in the process of ultimately wanting to step on stage, and it was something that ended up not even happening. And I sacrificed so much, and at the time it felt worth it, but when you reflect back afterwards, I kind of go, well, do you know what? I could have achieved the majority of what I got if I just took a bit longer to do it and was less strict and hard on myself. Like my wife's, I've spoken about it on other podcasts, my wife's 30th, I completely missed out because I was on prep. And we went to an amazing restaurant and everyone's having this incredible food, and I had what my coach had picked off the menu for me, which was some satay chicken, some plain rice, and some boiled vegetables. Yeah, and I was allowed one Coke Zero, and then it was tap water, and everyone else is having this incredible Thai tapas feast, and you should try this, you should try that. And my food was nice, don't get me wrong, it's a great restaurant, it's very nice food, but I'll never be able to get that back. Like the next milestone birthday for my other half will be her 40th. And sure as shit won't be fucking prepping for for that, but in the moment you go, this is worth it. But you get that hindsight to reflect, and I think it's such an important thing for us as coaches and for people, anyone listening to this. If you don't feel like you need a coach, if you're pretty well self-managed, I still think it's such an important thing each week to reflect back on how you've done and to ask yourself that question: could I be doing more? And if the answer to that is yes, is that more going to negatively impact on my ability to enjoy life? If the answer to it is no, then do more. 100% do more. But if the answer to it is, do you know what, yeah, it's going to impact negatively on my ability to enjoy things, the next question is simple: am I prepared for that? Am I okay with it? If you are, give it a go. Worst thing that's going to happen is you'll go, it's not for me, and you can settle back into what you were doing before. If you're not prepared for it, if you don't want to negatively impact, then you know that isn't the route for you. But that, for me, that self-reflection comes from bringing everything back full circle, comes from understanding of the principle behind what you're trying to achieve. When you understand what you need to do to reach your goal from a principality perspective and not from a method perspective, it makes it so much easier to decide, is this something I want to do? Every diet has the potential to work. Some people fucking love keto because they're not big on carbs, and I think they're fucking weird, but like, if it works for you, it works for you. Some people aren't, some people love fasting. They go, Joe, I feel really great if I don't eat for a day. I'm like, cool, good for you. I'm an aggy cunt if I don't eat for 20 minutes. But good for you, it works for you. But again, you can make those decisions to go, this would be good for me, if you understand how it works and why you're doing it. The challenge is a lot of people fall into the category of going, oh, that person said this worked really well for them, I'll give it a go because it must be good. And then they don't know why they're doing it. They don't understand how it works or the benefit of it. And then when they realise it's not for them, they don't self-reflect in a positive manner and go, that method didn't really work for me, what would be better? They just go, what's wrong with me? Why am I so shit? And you go, it's not you that's the problem. It was another shit method, but that's fine. There's a million methods. You try them all if you want to. Just don't get too emotionally invested in the ones that don't work.
Well, that's the thing. People get emotionally invested, and again, that's where that all or nothing mindset comes from. And I think, like, there are some solid principles. So be solid with your principles, but be flexible with your approach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we've done in the past, like prepping and all these different types of things. I mean, I've very much like you started at the beginning of like wanting to be a bodybuilder, and then realizing very quickly, seeing people a couple of years ahead of me being like, actually, don't want that.
Yeah.
That's messed up. Going into more calisthenics and powerlifting and different types of disciplines, but there are so many different approaches that you can take, but there are some fundamental principles that lie. And I think if you can be, you know, the type of coach, or if you can approach it in a way where you give people an option, so like we spoke about, having a focus cycle, a more sort of dialed in approach that is a little bit more focused and intense, you give people, at least you give them a taste of it.
Yeah.
And then they can decide. And it isn't a case of, well, you either do the intense approach, and if it doesn't work for you and you can't do it, then that's it, you're fucked. It's like, okay, well, now we've got this other option, which is a bit more steady, a bit slower.
Yeah.
And a bit more flexible.
Take people through sort of simple waves where you go, actually, do you know what? You got good results when you dialed in a bit more. Yeah, it was more difficult. So we'll just do that in shorter periods. But in those periods in between, we're not sacking it off and going, we're not doing anything. We just fall back into that state that we're comfortable in, where progress is a bit slower, but it's consistent, and you get to enjoy yourself. And then when you get those pockets of space where perhaps you haven't got a lot of social events coming up and you've got a bit more time and availability to dial in a little bit more, cool, sweet, let's fucking, we'll you know, that we can double down at that point. We can dive in and we can push you that little bit more. And then when it gets to a point where you go, this is getting a little bit much, we'll just ease it up, dial it back.
Well, this is exactly it, and this is one of the sort of perspectives I try to sort of put upon my people is life comes in ebbs and flows. Yeah. So, and it's the same thing with everything. Like my if you had asked me, you know, what's content looking like and what's your work schedule looking like, if you asked me a year ago, I'd be like, well, fuck, I'm filming about 3 pieces of content today, I'm scripting another lot, and I'm absolutely going ham, and I'm posting on everything and everything else. The last 12 months I haven't, because I can't continue doing it that way forever. I'm now approaching a stage where I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling the bug and I want to make more content again. I'm getting a bit of a fire back and I want to do that. But there's no point in me beating myself up for the 12 months where I've been not really wanting to make content as much as I have been. Yeah. So it comes and goes like that. And it's the same with fat loss. And I think, again, I made a piece of content just yesterday, which was like, it's very rare that you're going to go from point A to point B without having a period where you're not going ham. Yeah. And that's where maintenance is a superpower, where you can, a lot of people, there are, again, all or nothing mindset, they're either losing or they're gaining. There's no in between. Yeah. It's like, how about, again, it's one of the jobs we do. We teach people how to just maintain the results that they've got without saying fuck it. Yeah. And then going, oh, cool, do you want to pick up where you left off? Sick. Let's dial it up a bit again. Yeah. Go from there.
And again, I think it's just comes back to the challenges with the industry. A lot of it is centered around you. Even just from a fitness perspective, the amount of PTs that you'll speak to, the people within the industry, they're either cutting or bulking. They're either growing or they're cutting, and you go, do you ever just train for enjoyment? Do you ever just maintain? Do you ever just sort of go for a period where you're like, hey, I went to the gym and I had fun today? Like, why does there always have to be a really set, clear end goal? And again, those behaviour patterns tend to lead to more restrictive behaviours, and again, using that bulk and cutting thing, we've probably both seen it a million times with the people where they go on I'm on a 12-week bulk, and it's a dirty bulk, and they're like, I'm going to pack as much size on as possible, and then they do that, and then they go on a 12-week cut, and guess what, at the end of it they end up exactly back where they started, because they spent 12 weeks just gaining body fat because they were eating an excess of calories way above what they needed, and then they put themselves in a really aggressive deficit, so any muscle that they had grown in that 12-week period is probably lost because the cut was so aggressive, and they go, cool, you're running to stand still. Could have just used that 6 month period. You could have just been at maintenance the entire time. Maybe seen a little bit of compositional change anyway, just from the fact that you train so consistently and your food's really dialed in, and you could have just enjoyed the process instead of having a free for all on your food for 3 months and then making your life miserable for the next 3 months and wondering why nothing changed.
Oh, well, that's it. And then unfortunately that builds up this perspective of the fitness industry of that's what fitness is. Yeah. And then you have everyday people who actually just want to look good naked, feel confident in a shirt or a dress or jeans or something and want to be healthier, and they think that, or they at least have an inkling that that's probably the approach that they need to take, because that's what these trainers are doing, after all.
Yeah, and it's probably the same for you. I've lost count of the amount of times when you're doing a consultation call and people are like, I don't really know if I should be bulking or cutting, and I'm like, how do you want to look and feel? Like, don't worry about bulking and cutting. Like, how do you want to look and feel? Like, where do you feel like you need to make improvements right now? Oh, I could probably do with losing a bit of weight here, a bit of size there. I'm like, cool, right, let's just strip this back. We can get you training, get you lifting as often as we can, prioritizing protein. We'll drop your calories into a sensible deficit if you feel like you've got more body fat than you would like. We're not going to worry about this bulking and cutting. Oh, but I thought I needed to. No, you just find something you enjoy doing, please.
Yeah.
and don't eat like a gluttonous cunt, and you should be all right.
And the funny is that, like, with a goal like that, which is like pretty much everyone's goal, I had somebody who contacted me for coaching, and I was brutally honest, and I said, look, mate, your goal is a minimum of 12 months, and realistically is 18 to 24 months. And he just went, no, surely not. And I said, yeah, unfortunately. He was like, and he obviously just didn't like what I had to hear. And he went away, and then I heard from him probably about a year later, Michael, and then he worked with me for about a year and a bit, and at the end of it he said, I wasted an entire year because I didn't like what you had to say, which was the fact that my goal was actually going to take way longer than I wanted it to. And again, that's where I think as a coach, it's like, just brutal honesty and set the expectation as 100%. Realistic. It's like, if you're looking at body recomposition, losing body fat and gaining muscle, it's going to take time. Like, unfortunately, you're in the boat where your goal requires more time versus somebody who just doesn't really worry too much about gaining lots of muscle and just want to retain the muscle they have and just want to drop body fat. Yeah, they've got a much quicker time of it, where if you're looking for body recomposition, way longer. But then also at the end of the day, hopefully we're all alive, by the time we're 80, maybe 90s, and we're fit and healthy. Yeah.
So again, I think on that side of things, again, it's the perceptions that are created by the industry. What doesn't help is there are a lot of prep style coaches who will showcase their greatest transformations. Typically, it will be clients who are running stacks of gear and coaches themselves that use their own transformations. Look at what I did in 12 weeks, and they don't disclose the fact that they are anabolically assisted. And again, it's not my bag, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But the problem and the challenge that comes from it is if you don't disclose that you've utilized steroids, it just feeds back into that perception of how quickly you can achieve a body transformation goal.
Completely misleading.
And then when people come to us and they go, oh, this is my goal, this is what I want to achieve, and I'm like, brilliant, and they're like, I want to achieve it in the next 3 months, and you're like, it's not going to happen. Well, I don't want to work with you then, because this coach over here has been showing pictures of people who've achieved that transformation at that time. And you go, yeah, but did they tell you that they put them on gear? Did they tell you that they're running multiple steroids and peptides in order to achieve it? Well, no, they didn't. Are you prepared to do that? No, I'm not. Cool. Right. Well, then we're back in the room with me, and it's back to 18 months, 24 months. If you want to do that in 9 months, like, get the needle out.
Yeah, it really is a difficult one, because I think it is just innately human nature. Like, we see something we want, and of course we'd want it sooner rather than later. You know, like, if I've got a community and a community coaching, I would love that. I want there to be hundreds of people on it, because it's affordable and people can genuinely benefit from it. Is that going to happen overnight? No. If somebody gave me an option where it could go overnight, which is not cheating or being disingenuous, then I'd be like, yeah, let's give it a go. Yeah. So it's human nature to try and obviously get these things a bit quicker, but then I think it only happens with time and doing things that require time and patience that you learn to be patient.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a really nice place to
to
round off.
I don't know how long we've been going for.
Nearly 2 hours. Fuck, man. It's a good chat. But what I always do before we round off is, again, obviously we touched on it at the start, but just let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you if they don't already. As I said, I'd be amazed if they're not, but if they've been living under a rock, where do they find you?
Thank you very much, man. I'm on all platforms. Sam VEEPT. That is my handle. And mate, thank you so much for having me here.
Mate,
it's my first time on an in-person podcast, and I love it.
There you go,
I love
mate.
it.
And we make mojitos. We went non-alcoholic for
good,
safety
man. I've
reasons.
finished mine completely.
Yeah, same. Well, because it's non-alcoholic. If you want another one, I've got enough stuff. We can do another one. But yeah, mate, it's been a pleasure. And for everyone listening, if you're still with us, I'm sure you are. Obviously, thank you for listening. Make sure you like and share and subscribe and all that good shit. And I'll be back on the next one. So I will see you all then.